Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today my plan is to work on repotting some of my Alocasias. I want to switch them from growing in soil to a semi-hydro setup. So semi-hydro is something that I'm pretty new to. I've only tried a couple plants so far. I kind of got inspired because I had a rehab plant that I got from Home Depot, which isn't an Alocasia, but it's an anthurium, which is leaning a bit here. But when I got it, it was growing in water, and leaves were a bit sad, but I thought that would be a really easy way to test out doing some semi-hydro growing. And I've been really happy with the results so far. There's a lot of new root growth going on in this plant. I'll show you here. Yeah, so I just want to show you some of the new root growth here. So all these kind of little fuzzy parts have grown in, and I just put it in this, I don't know, within a week, I would say. So it seems like it's really liking it. So yeah, I thought I would try with some of my Alocasias too. And I should probably figure out how to make this one stand up. We'll worry about that later. So for my Alocasias, I have this really nice, I think it's called a silver dragon or silver scale, something like that. It's growing really nice. It has a lot of different growth points on there. So I took one of them and put it in some pond, and I did probably about 50% pond and 50% perlite, and it's done pretty well so far. It hasn't died, so that's good. It's probably been like 2 or 3 weeks, and it's grown some roots, so I thought, why not go ahead and try some of my other Alocasias. One of the main reasons that I want to try semi-hydro setup is because one, I usually, especially in the summer, have to water my Alocasias at least once a week, and that makes it really difficult to be able to travel, right? And it's not really realistic to get like a plant sitter to water over 100 plants and like know what to do and how to do it. So I would like something where I'm not having to necessarily check on my plants every week or multiple times a week. So yeah, I just want to try that. The other reason I've seen a lot of people are having a ton of success with growing their Alocasias in semi-hydro. And yeah, so I want to try it with my favorite Alocasia now, the Alocasia cuprea. And part of the reason I want to try it is because I'm pretty sure that this long wobbly part here is maybe it has like 0 roots. So yeah, I just think it's a good time to just give it a try, see what happens. I think I might maybe keep a couple in soil in case it goes terribly wrong, so I don't just like lose the entire plant. But yeah, you can also see it's just gotten, I've had it for a long time, so it's gotten really tall and it has all this little papery stuff. I just kind of want to clean it up. I'll like repot it a bit deeper so that we can maybe get some more corms off it and some new roots, and yeah, just see how it's doing. But overall, I mean, I think the plant is pretty happy. It actually looks like it might be thinking about flowering on this one, and then some of the smaller ones are getting some new leaves, but you can just see everything is so wobbly. And yeah, let's just see how this will go. I'm not an expert in semi-hydro growing, but yeah, I'm just really excited to try it, honestly. I think it'll be a new fun thing, new approach, and hopefully it'll go well. Alright, so my supplies for this, I have some leca. Oh no, the Alocasia's falling. sorry. I had some leca. These are just clay balls, and they're really nice because since they're clay, they kind of have these pores that can hold a lot of oxygen, so it helps keep the roots nice and oxygenated. And I have this glass jar that I got with my anthurium that I got on discount, so I thought it would be nice to try using this and see what happens. So first I'm going to rinse this off really quick. Alright, so yeah, so I have my leca, I have my container, and then I also have some sphagnum moss. So I just ordered this from Amazon. It came in a dehydrated block, and I just put some water in it, let it absorb that, and it's just damp. So the thing that I've heard people kind of compare it to is like if you were to wring out a sponge or a cloth and it's just kind of damp, that's basically the level of moisture you want. So when you could probably get even more out, honestly, because you don't want like a ton of water to come out when you're squeezing it. So yeah, I think that's close to good. So yeah, let's take a look at what's going on with this. Okay. Yeah, so it does have a few roots, but it's definitely, you know, probably not been super happy in there. And it does have a couple corms attached, so that's exciting. More plants. I would really love this one to be really pretty and full because it's, I mean, it's just so pretty. Especially the new leaves, like they come out kind of, I don't know, like almost like holographic looking. It's just such a pretty plant. So the first thing that I'm doing now that I've taken it out of the soil is I'm just removing all of the papery parts. And the reason I'm doing that is to expose all of these little points here. Hopefully you can see that. There's kind of like these little bumps that you can see on the stem, and those will grow either some new roots or some more corms. So I want to just expose those, remove that paper. It should help them grow a bit better. Well, that's not 100% perfect, but a lot of those spots are exposed now, so you can see there's just a ton of those little bumps that'll grow either some corms or some roots. Yeah, so here's just a close-up of what those little bumps look like. So one thing I'm not sure about, since this stem is so long, I'm not sure if the best thing to do is to remove the corms because they're going to be so far under the moss, or if they'll just be fine and grow. So I think I need to check and do some reading real quick. Okay, so I did a quick search on Google, and it seems like generally you don't want the corms to be more than like a couple inches below the soil. So yeah, the way this was potted, these were not very far below the soil. So I am going to remove them. Generally, I'm not one to remove corms, and my reasoning is that If it's attached to the mother plant that has roots and is already established, I just have found they tend to be more successful and I don't really have to bother with anything. So yeah, but for this case I am going to actually remove these. Alright, so when you're transitioning your plants, whether they're alocasia or something else, from soil to semi-hydro, you want to make sure that you get all of the soil off the roots and the stem of the plant, anywhere you see soil. So I'm going to take this to the sink and get it cleaned up. Alright, so I got that all cleaned up. To help me a bit, so I just sprayed it with some water, and then to help me I used a cloth and just kind of gently rubbed it along the roots. I think one of the most important things from what I've read and heard is to make sure that you get all of that soil off, or else you're going to have issues with rotting. So yeah, just do your best to get it off. If for some reason there's one where you really just can't get the dirt off, the better option would be just to remove that root so you don't have to worry about it rotting and causing more issues. So yeah, but these cleaned up pretty well, and there's just not a whole lot of root to begin with, so it wasn't a whole lot of effort. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this potted up. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I have my jar here, is I'm going to just add maybe an inch or two of the leca. Whoops. So yeah, I added that much, and essentially what this is going to do is just act as a reservoir where we'll have our water. So when we put the water in there, we won't fill it above the leca, so we don't want the water to be touching the moss that we end up putting in here. I think that's, maybe I'll do a little more. Oops. Okay, so I did about that much. That's probably fine. So this is just so ridiculously tall. So I'm kind of worried that if I put this all the way down, it's just so tall. I'm gonna kind of like put some moss and then put this in there, but just a very thin layer, and hope that that works out. Because I just don't have really a taller vessel, I don't think. Let me double check. Okay, I actually do have a taller one, but it would be kind of tight, I think, to put multiple plants in this. Maybe I could just put this one and then put the others in this and then see how it goes. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll pull out some of the other plants and then decide from there what makes sense to do. They're all pretty sad root-wise. It's just like corn and one root. Yeah, I just, my alocasias grow really nice in the summer and then they struggle in the winter, which I guess isn't unusual because they can grow dormant in the cold weather. But I just feel like I'm struggling with like watering them enough or too much. And yeah, I just haven't really got the perfect watering schedule down, so I'm really hoping that this will be a good way to kind of perfect my alocasia growing. Oh, that leaf got damaged. It's so nice. Okay, so we kind of have like 3 itty bitty plants and then 3 bigger plants. And these actually are looking a bit better root-wise, or one of those. So these are both getting new leaves, so that's nice. Alright, so, this also has a couple of corms on it, another corm. This is going to be so nice once it's happy and not losing leaves. Be nice and full. Alright, let's clean this one off too, and then we can play around with if they'll fit into one jar or the other, or if maybe I should do a couple jars. Maybe for these really small ones, maybe they should have their own jar because they're really tiny, but we'll see. I also have to be mindful of how much I'm splitting things up because I only have so much space, and I have over 100 different kinds of plants, and some of those I have multiples of. So yeah, I have to just be thoughtful about that. Again, I'm just removing the papery parts as best I can, and then I will go wash off the roots. One thing I've considered with this really big, tall, crazy one is chopping it up. So, like taking basically some sort of cutting like in there, maybe. And yeah, I think that could be nice because this is just so freaking tall. But yeah, I'm kind of afraid to do that. I don't know. So many people I've heard have done that and then their plant just rots. I think it's, you know, just like a giant open wound that really makes it likely for you to get rot. So I don't know. I'm scared to do that. I think before I would do that, I would try to grow it in this like semi-hydro setup, and then once it has some roots, try to chop it, and I just feel like that would be more successful instead of trying to have it heal itself and develop roots at that same time. So, yeah. Alright, so I think, you know, for the most part we got the papery bits off, so I will take these all to the sink and get them washed up. Alright, now that I have everything washed off, I am going to figure out what my plan is. So, I love the idea of having one full pot. However, I'm just feeling like with how tall that one is, it may be better to not do that. Let's look one more time. Maybe what I can do is put this in here and then let it grow some roots and maybe chop it later. I don't know. Okay. I'm really not sure what to do here. Let's just put a little bit of moss in and see what we think it will look like if I do that. I'm just going to put a really light layer of moss on the bottom because I'm Also, I'm just thinking, like, if this is too far down, then it's going to be more likely to rot. But, I mean, it's also not going to be totally covered in this one either. So, I think let's just put it together. Let's see how it does, and then if I want to try and maybe chop it later, I could layer some moss higher up on this plant. Maybe I'll do that. And then everything's contained. Gives me a second to like actually try this method out, see if I can keep these things alive, and then kind of go from there. The tricky part now is going to be holding these in place while I also fill this. So I know some people will kind of like wrap the roots in some moss, so maybe I should try that. So I'm just going to take some of my moss, and some of these will be easier to do, right? Like this just has this little tiny bit here, so I'll just kind of wrap this in a little moss ball. And then I can just stick it in there. That's kind of my plan. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this. I have only done this one. I've never done this semi-hydro setup with the moss and the leca. Leca. I've only tried pon and leca, and it's only been on a couple plants, so don't 100% have a solid idea of what to do. So I have this corm, and it's growing kind of funny because you can see these are the roots that were growing down, but the top of the corm is this way. So my plan is just to plant it sideways. That's kind of a foolproof method for deciding which part is the top and which is the bottom. So I see a lot of people ask when they find corms, like which way goes up, which way goes down, and sometimes it can be easy to tell, and other times it's not so easy, in my opinion. So a kind of foolproof way is to just plant it sideways, and the part that wants to go up will find its way to the surface. Plants are smart, they figure it out. So the ones with these longer roots are the ones that I'm kind of like, I want the roots to be just in there, I don't want to smush them up, so maybe I won't wrap those. I'll just wrap these kind of smaller ones to stick in. And they're also, like, these roots just aren't going to go as far down right now, so I think this will be okay. Something like that. So I'm just doing it gently, I'm not like packing it in, just kind of wrapping it around. Okay. So, I think we start with the big guy, and then we'll kind of do the biggest plants first, and then end with the small little ones. So, I'm going to just attempt to kind of hold these in place, I think. It's going to be challenging. Something like this, I think. The big one on one side, and then the two smaller ones. And then we'll just tuck the little tiny guys around those. So, alright. I'm going to try to just kind of fill this in, and then adjust them as I get closer to the top. Just at least would like the roots to kind of be spread out already, so that's why with these ones having as much root as they do, I didn't really want to like wrap them initially. We want this leaf to go. I have these beautiful new leaves coming in, so I'm like, no, maybe just like this way. Maybe it'll fill in nicely like that. we're starting to get some stability here. Slowly. Alright, so I got that, like that. Now I'm going to try to fill in with some of these smaller guys. And initially I was going to keep some growing in soil, but I decided just go for it, you know? See how this goes. I'll keep a close eye on it. If it seems like things are going downhill, I'll pull them out and hopefully be able to save them, but I think we just give it a try. See how it goes. Especially because I've really had success so far with the couple times I have tried transitioning things from soil to leca or pon. Especially leca, these clay balls that are in the bottom, I really had good luck with that. I had a little bit of issues using pon, and I think that's just because, like, with the small pieces, they compact around the roots a lot more. So, you know, you just have to be so much more careful about watering and not watering too much and that sort of thing. And since I'm new to this growing method, I just don't think I have the knowledge and skills quite yet to know when to water and how much and that sort of thing. So I've just had a bit more success in the leca. And one thing that I did for one of my plants for the anthurium I showed that's kind of top heavy is I put the clay balls, the leca, on the bottom, and then I added pon to the top, since that kind of compacts a bit more, because I thought that would be a bit more sturdy and help it stand up. So far that has not been the case though. It's leaning very hard, but I noticed once I put it in that configuration with the leca like really being where the roots are at, that's where it's suddenly grown all those new roots. Before that, it was still alive, doing fine, but it didn't grow a bunch of new roots like that. So it seems to really like that based on how I'm caring for it. So I will stick with that for a bit. So now we just have these couple little tiny baby plants left that I will stick in there somewhere. We have one more small one to fit in here. I think I'm going to put it next to that other small one. Alright. It's in. So now I have this little corn that I'm gonna pop in there too, because I mean it's like rooted up and ready to go. Where do I want to put it? I also don't want to overcrowd it too much. I think I'm gonna just kind of put it in the middle because there's a nice empty spot in the middle. So I'm just gonna like pop it in there and hope for the best. Maybe. Okay. Alright, so those are all in there. I still have a couple corms, and I'm gonna dig through the soil to see if I can find any more. But yeah, that's all potted up, and I think it's gonna take a little bit before it gets more sturdy, but I'm gonna try to pack in some more moss to help with that. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's just a top heavy plant in general, so I think it'll take a little bit once it starts developing some roots that will help, but also definitely adding some more moss in will be good too. And yeah, so this is just long strand sphagnum moss, and it's, I mean, relatively cheap. This is like a half a block, and I got 2 whole blocks for I think around $20 or $25 on Amazon. So it's not too bad, I don't think, price wise. Another method that I would like to try out, so I really like the idea of growing things in pon. So yeah, I would like to try that a bit more, but I've seen people get chunkier pon than what I have, and I just think pon looks really nice. Not that, I mean, the leca's fine, it just, I don't know, I feel like the pon just looks nice, like leca's just fine, but anyway, I would like to maybe try some chunkier pon and see if I have more success with that. Or yeah, I've even heard people just growing in some pumice, and that's worked out well. Oh man, this is still really leaning hard. I thought I was almost done with it, but then yeah, that one, the heavy one, is just really tipping. I'm gonna just keep tucking some moss until it seems a bit more sturdy. And if it's really still leaning, I might just add a little stake, but I think for now that's pretty good. So we got that in there. It's a bit more sturdy now. The little guys are much more sturdy and happy. So yeah, there's that. And since I'm transitioning it from soil into this semi-hydro setup, my plan is to not water it right now. So the sphagnum moss was already damp, and the leca was not wet, but it is a little bit wet now just from the moss and like rinsing the container out. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of leave it as it is, and then once it starts drying out, I'll add some water and just kind of be a little bit more conservative with the water until it starts getting more used to it. I don't want the moss to dry out 100%, but you know, maybe just letting it dry out a bit, keeping an eye on things, and going from there. So yeah, I just want to add a little bit more moss behind this, because I really would love this to grow roots on this tall guy, or like just a bunch more corms, and then yeah, be able to chop it. I mean, it's nice when they're tall, but yeah, since it's just continuously losing leaves, it's just like a tall trunk. It's not very beautiful, I guess, but that's okay. Alright, so I think I'm happy with that. Keep everything damp and growing. So yeah, there's my setup. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep an eye on it and maybe do an update in a few weeks and let you know how it went. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm just kind of getting started with this method, so if you have any suggestions, let me know. And there's still lots more to discuss about semi-hydro setup, so things like choosing what sort of fertilizer to use. You have to be thoughtful about the pH of the water in the setup, so those are some things that I'm gonna play around with, see what works for me, and then later on make a video about that and offer some suggestions of what worked well for me. But if you have any suggestions, definitely let me know. If you have any comments about the setup, I would love to hear them. Like I said, it's my first time, so if you see something that I did wrong or should do differently, just let me know. I'd love to hear that. So thanks for watching my video. I hope it was helpful.